Hi everybody. So I had a little bit of trouble trying to set up the streaming camera, but nevertheless I am on and we are live. So thank you for tuning in for those of you that are live with me. This is going to be a 6-week session that's going to be focused Tuesdays at noon, 20 minutes on meditation, and today's primary emotion is that of happiness. So first thing I'm going to start with is, what is emotion? So emotion is a byproduct of the environment, and it acts as a biological information processing system that sends what we sense in our environment to our brain. And the biggest thing here is how the brain interprets it. And if it interprets it incorrectly or false based on potential traumas or maybe a negative narrative, then that's where sometimes mental health issues can come and can set in, right? So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be focusing on a certain emotion of happiness and where we feel it in our body. We're going to do a little bit of visualization, but not a lot, just so you could sit with wherever you are today without changing or adjusting too much in your current state. And just remembering that emotions are that primary drive that actually does drive our behavior, and it changes our motivational states. So the purpose of the meditation is to really become mindful of where certain thoughts potentially could come from, because then thoughts start to slowly translate into action, and also how we show up in the world. So of course, as many of us know, the benefits of emotion is that it helps us create that level of community and knowing of what the other person is experiencing or thinking, just based on what they're experiencing and expressing on their face. So we're going to start in a comfortable seated. It doesn't have to be anything specific. You could be easy cross-legged, you could be kneeling. If you know that you have back pains, you could start to lean up against the wall just so you have a little bit more support. Or you could take blocks underneath your knees if you find yourself rounding forward, taking blocks underneath the sit bones and trying to find a nice long tall spine. So setting those shoulder blades back, just taking a couple of shoulder rolls, linking in your breath, so in through the nose, out of the mouth, just 2 more times. Good, setting those shoulders right over top of the hips. Try to keep your belly as relaxed as you can. And then try to lengthen through your lower back as well, so you're not cocking in any kind of way. You're scanning the body right now from the crown of the head to the tips of the toes. And just pay attention to where you're holding the tension in your body. And if you feel any kind of intensive physical sensation. Now when you're ready, you could slowly start to close the eyes. So tuning back into that emotion today of happiness, and just even hearing that word and starting to replay it within your mind's eye, just notice what happens. Particularly focusing in that area of your body, in that domain of the physical. Maybe there's certain memories that come up. Maybe you feel lightness, a sense of relaxation. Or maybe for some of you, you start to see a color. So there's no right and wrong. If you feel or see nothingness, that's even better. And just continue to focus on the breath right now. Noticing how you're holding yourself in this seated space. Now, like any other emotion, happiness is one that majority of us strive toward. but it's something that cannot be maintained for such a long period of time because of other external factors that come into play or circumstance, situations that can of course change that. Now, a rule of thumb in emotions is that they're supposed to only last 90 seconds. Seriously. Because they're simply supposed to give you information of what's happening in your environment, so then you can make an educated or instinctual guess of what you need in that moment in time. Now, if emotions run past that 90-second mark, and you're in a certain type of situation where, based on your environment particularly, you're maybe stuck in that emotion, then that emotion starts to translate and transform into mood. And if moods are not paid attention to, then it can start to seep into anxiety, levels of depression, even darker parts of the being, such as suicide. So how do we maintain that level of awareness? Continuing to breathe. And it's through daily practice of this mindfulness meditation. See it as a way for you to check in and to tune in to where you are today physically, mentally, and if there is some kind of underlying mood. Just as a baby, as environments change, experiences change, your emotions will change. So let's come back to that emotion of happiness. Taking deep breaths in through the nose. If there's lots of pressure in your body, out of the mouth. And from this point forward, try your very best to keep the eyes closed, no matter what kind of distractions there are around you. Allowing the tip of the tongue to rest at the palate of the mouth. And then just noticing as you do inhale, the expansion in the lungs, the opening of the rib cage, and the softness around the area of your belly. Softening the space in and around your heart. And well maintained, the level of happiness really goes throughout the entire body and being. And it continues to illuminate out into the different layers of your aura. And individually, we all have our own set script, blueprint of how to attain and experience more happiness, or interpret, I should say, happiness, to be able to try to maintain that level of deeper equilibrium. So as you continue to sit, mindfully, quietly, without too much movement, as things start to come in through your senses, notice first how your mind is interpreting it. What kind of narrative are you putting onto it? What story are you telling yourself? If it's something that's serving you, or if it's in a negative lens where it's self-destructive. Your breath will change from deep to shallow. There'll be periods where it feels like you forget to breathe, and then periods of long mindfulness around the inhalation and the exhale. And once again, there's no right or wrong. You're just noticing, you're just paying attention to where you are today and what's coming up. Many of you may know the term the monkey mind. So whenever your mind starts to wander and your head essentially leaves the body because you're no longer paying attention to what's happening below the neck, notice it. Be kind to yourself, and then just bring yourself back. Continuing to pay attention to either your breath, if that's where you're at, or scanning the body from the crown of the head to the tips of the toes, tips of the toes back to the crown of the head. Or perhaps it's a little bit harder of a day, and you're simply paying attention to what's happening at that cognitive level, the ongoing thoughts. So whichever sheath, domain that you're in, you can stay there and just continue to witness objectively to what's going on. Taking a deep breath in, exhale out of the mouth as you soften your shoulders, the chest, the lower back. Continuing your nasal breath in and out of the nose. Re-lengthen up through your spine, crown of the head reaching to the ceiling, sit bones are grounding down onto the mat or chair. And just continue to soften the muscles that you find tension in as you continue to just stay present. Whenever your monkey mind distracts you, you bring yourself back. Soften the area around the eyes. Notice if you're clenching your teeth. Create a slight part so the tongue is resting soft in the middle of your mouth. For those that are feeling agitated, not sure on what to focus on, try to bring yourself to the surface level of your skin and notice how your clothes feel against your skin, the temperature of the room. We're here for just a few more breaths. If this meditation is serving you today, feel free to stay a little bit longer. Otherwise, start to take the chin down toward the chest, bowing to yourself, to the time and work that you've put in. And this level of self-awareness takes a lot of effort and a lot of reprogramming, restructuring. And coming back to the emotion of happiness is how we get more of that in our lives. It's sometimes about restructuring other areas and aspects of ourselves so that it comes into alignment to our core authenticity in order for us to start to interpret the world around us through the lens of happiness. Because if we're feeling frustrated or agitated around a situation, it's because it's not aligned to what we want or to the plan that we've set. So we're going to close our practice with 3 mindful breaths as the chin is down toward the chest, breathing in front of and right behind the heart. So feel the shoulder scapula really expanding up and out. Nice full body breaths. 2 more. Only when you're ready, start to blink the eyes open. You could take the palms to prayer, placing it just around the area of the heart, so pressing the thumbs against the chest. I know it went by fast. Taking 3 nice deep breaths. Setting your shoulders down and back. Continue with that nice tall posture throughout the rest of your day. And just start to pay attention as your homework for the next 24 hours. As the information continues to come into the different senses of your body, and it slowly translates into information in the brain, notice how you interpret it, and notice what emotions come up, because those emotions are going to depict your behavior, and they're going to also be that motivational factor. So hopefully, as we continue with mindfulness meditation, you could come into a complete alignment with your core values and yourself in order to live with more happiness and that level of depth of joy that comes through that. So namaste, everybody.